Hello everyone, welcome back. And today I want to be talking about something that is is some of my weakest parts, some of the parts that I'm not exactly proud of, not exactly happy with. And I guess everybody has these parts, right? The parts of themselves where they know that they're weakest at, they're most vulnerable at, and the most afraid of as well. Because why would you actually reveal your weakest parts if that's what's going to bring you the worst outcomes, or it's going to attract people trying to take advantage of that? Why would you do that, right? So that's what I'd like to talk about, because I feel all of us have it, and it's just something that we have issues figuring out what to do with, like not knowing how to handle it in a certain way. So yeah, so what are some of my weakest parts? So my most weakest part, which I feel out of observation, is criticism. Something I can't take. I have never been able to take it. Been on so many deep meditational journeys and all these insightful, meaningful experiences, but to this day, I don't still feel that I have it in me, the right attitude or the ability or the mental makeup to be able to take criticism. Like I've investigated every possible way of being cool with it, but I just don't seem to find it in me. Like I just don't have it in me. At least as of now, I just don't find it. I've looked at it for quite a long time, actually. Like how these people who face criticism so well, how do they, like people outside of me, when I do see someone being able to take something on the chin and laugh about it or walk on by. I always wonder how somebody does that. Now, all of us are going to have something which we're not very proud of. We're not very happy about, and we wish that we weren't that way. So, how do you deal with that? Like, because some things can be changed. Some things you can get like more better at over time, but there are some aspects of yourself that are just so deeply rooted into your personality makeup, into just the way you're made, that uh, changing it is not even advisable, because along with it changes a lot of other stuff which you don't want to change, with its integral to the way you're made up, which is integral to your strengths as well. So there are some things which just are the way you are. It just is your weak underbelly. So my weakest underbelly is the ability to take criticism. I just don't have it. So now what do I do with this? I figured this out long back, but I just don't know how to do it now. How do I handle it now? What happens when you have something extremely weak is that your mechanism tends to strengthen other parts, because it doesn't want to get hurt. And what do you do when you don't want to get hurt? You fortify your front. You fortify your front to a point where you're trying to stay protected. So now, knowing this aspect about myself brought me into a point where I personally would never uh, express my see, when I say express, again, it's very specific to, I think, being an artist, because an artist is all about his expression. Yeah, and that's the way he makes his living, and that's the everyday routine as well. So it could be something else as well. It could just be that instead of expression, you can say execution. If you're probably in a different field, if you're in a different kind of makeup, it could just be execution, that I'm not able to execute something if I'm being criticized. Or yeah, Could just be that, like I'm not able to fulfill a task or meet a goal or deliver something that I'm supposed to if I'm being criticized. And this is something which a lot of us do suffer with. And what do I do about it? I do not express something or bring up something into the external world unless I've like completely ruminated over it. By ruminated, I mean, you know how the cows eat food? But this gulp everything down, and then there's a system inside their digestive mechanism which just rechurns everything, re-eats everything, and breaks down everything till a point that everything has been completely digested, broken down. So I do this a lot. If I'm creating something new, if I'm creating a new project, if I'm creating a new musical idea, and I know that it's very vulnerable because it's coming from a very deep part of me, and I do not want that to be criticized. Like I just don't, because I know it'll like literally break me or put me on like a negative track on which getting over will take a lot of time, and like I just don't want to do all that. So what do? I generally tend to ruminate on things. By that I mean that if there's something that I want to bring out into the world, I would just sit with it for a very long time. Uh, I wouldn't release it immediately. I would give it 6 months. I would give it 6 months of time. Why? Because I would give it time and do it till the point that the emotion is not there in it anymore. What do I mean by that? Like when we start something fresh, something new, we're emotionally charged, right? It could just be anything. It could just be a business. It could just be a new routine that you start. It could just be an exercise regimen that you start every day. And in the beginning is when you do not want to be criticized because you are, especially if you have this kind of makeup like me, I really get affected. So you do not want that in the beginning. You because you're emotionally charged at that time, and you want to use that emotional charge to get a lot of mileage. That means take that project or whatever you started to a point where from which the criticism will not affect, from which it cannot actually be undone or broken. You want to take it to that point. So till that point, what do? I just don't speak about it at all. I just keep it with myself. I keep working on it. I keep working on it diligently every day within my own cocoon. I keep doing it, and I keep going deeper and deeper into that project. So say for example, it's just a weight loss program. It could just be it could just could be a weight loss program, or it could be a new meditation routine you've started, or it could be it could just be something that you're really passionate about, but who want to start or want to try out, but you're not really sure about how the people around you would react to it, or how anybody would say something because it's so out of what you generally do. If you are doing something like that, I would just keep it to myself initially. Just try to keep it to myself and keep going more and more deeper and deeper into it, reading more about it, researching more about it, understanding more about it, trying it more and more within my within my alone time, and getting more and more familiar with it to the point that I've seen all its parts, to the point that I've experienced all the different parts of it, to the point that I have seen its benefits and I have seen its disadvantages as well of the project, enterprise, or endeavor that I've just taken up. So how would I really stay with it till that time? Once you have completely experienced that project, whether it's a weight loss program or it's a musical project or composition that you're coming up with, once you've experienced all different parts of it, and I mean like in detail, like you haven't left anything, what happens is the urge to discover something new kind of gets satisfied. And when the urge to discover something new gets satisfied, your emotional attachment to that is somewhat reduced. Of course, there's still going to be excitement. There's still going to be, you want to do that. But the point of view which the part of you which actually does get hurt during criticism is less there. It's not there in its complete form. It has slowly moved on to the next stage where it now wants to maybe build on it and wants to take it to the next level. Now, when your emotion is in the next level, for example, I would give us, yeah, for example, yeah, it could just be like, okay, I'm writing a composition. It's taken me, say, for example, like a month to do it. In that month, I would never talk about it. If it's something coming very internally, very deep about something which is, very personal to me, I don't want any external opinion at all because, yeah, I just can't, handle it. That's my weakest side. I would just not talk about it, keep doing it by myself, give it the month where I've explored all different aspects of my own emotions towards the project, understand it completely, see everything, experience everything inside of it, try out everything. And once the emotion is out of it, by that I mean that once my emotion is transferred to the next phase is, okay, now I'm putting it down on paper or on my software. I'm just putting my composition down on my software. Now I'm just doing my rudimentary work, that is just typing everything down, putting down the notes, and arranging everything properly, and doing all this. And my mind is already going towards the next stage, that is, now, like, where do I release it? What do I do with it? Like, who do I approach? And I'm getting into this phase, right? Like the next phase of execution. Like, where do I get it mixed? What do I do with the mastering? I'm getting into like the next phase of it, like mentally. That is probably the perfect time where you can expose it, your initial project, which is due like a few months back. For me, I generally give myself like quite a long time because of how weak this part of me is, how weak this inability to take criticism is. I know it's quite weak in me. So I generally give it a lot of time, sometimes in months, to a point where I've completely over that project, where I'm just completely like, it's not emotionally attached anymore. And I'm on to the next thing. I'm emotionally attached onto the next part of that same endeavor or onto the upcoming endeavor. That is ideally the time I bring it out. That is ideally the time I'll release it. And what happens then for me personally is that when I'm releasing something which is quite old, which is already like 6 months old, I'm not emotionally attached in it, and I tend to do it in an instinctive way. Then I'm not thinking about perfection because I think I'm quite a perfectionist, and I do have these issues. And maybe if you're not, it's probably not the case with everyone. Yeah, but yeah, I do tend to have this. So 6 months later, when I'm doing the same thing, like I've completely just forgotten about the emotion attached with it, and as I'm going about doing it, I'm just doing it instinctively. I'm just doing it like I'm not trying to perfect it anymore. I'm just keeping it the way it is and putting it out. Now, with that, what happens is, personally, I've observed is at that time, 6 months later, when I'm like putting it out or showing it to someone, I am making zero effort to change it. I'm making zero effort to make it better. I'm making zero effort to take in external criticism to make it better. Because even if nobody said it, I'm not changing it anyways. Because it's already done. Like the emotion is gone out of it. So I'm actually not going to be changing it. Now, this is the time I feel is the perfect time to release it or bring it in front of somebody else or bring it in front of anything actually and expose it. Because now within your psyche, you are not in a state where you are emotionally charged by it. So you're not going to be changing it. Remember, emotion means to motion, leads to motion, means it's going to, lead to you changing something about it because you do not want to be in that state, and emotion tends to move all the time. So that's why I completely stress on this word emotion. You have to not be emotionally charged about it. That's when it's completely dry of my and devoid of my emotions when I tend to bring it out because I can see myself not changing it. Even if nobody saw it, whether anybody saw it, it just doesn't matter. I'm not going to do it. At that time, if I do face criticism, I find it to not hurt or not derail me. More than hurt is okay, man. Get over it. Like you sleep it off, it'll be fine. But I don't want it to derail my the path that I'm in. That's more important for me. Like, it shouldn't be derailing me. And I know this is my weakest point, and it does derail me. So this is something that really does affect me. So I tend to do it at a time when it's non-derailable. And then when somebody says something, or I get a lot of negative criticism out of it, it does hurt, but it doesn't derail. I think that is very important to see, that criticism is okay. It can hurt. It's fine. As long as it doesn't derail you, it's totally fine. Like, it's not affecting it. It's not affecting your goals. It's not affecting what you're here to do. It's not affecting the next projects that you're doing. And yeah, this can be literally applied to anything. If you've got some, you're on a diet and you're really trying to follow it, and it's very difficult for you to do it. Like, you're trying something completely new. Maybe you're working on an extremely strict diet, which is very different from what you generally eat or are used to eating. People saying shit about you, it does affect. Like, it's very easy to get derailed. Getting hurt is okay, but you don't want your diet plan or whatever it is that you're following. It could be a meditation plan. It could just be any plan, right? Or it could just be a financial plan that you're following, that you're investing specifically in a certain something periodically, which is an excellent habit to have, right? Like, it's inculcating that habit into your everyday routine. And that is the point of time where you don't want it to get affected. And once you're kind of over it, and once you're into the next phase, the best phase to talk about it or allow someone else in to that part of you, because whatever they say might hurt, but it might not derail. And because by that time, the cycles that you follow have already been established. In fact, with meditation, like, I used to know this very clearly, that anything which you do for 21, 41, or 61 days tends to like stick in, especially like after like doing it for 90 days straight. Like, it really big hardens in, the pattern hardens in to a point that the conscious becomes the unconscious. And at that time is what I mean by that it will not derail you, because the pattern has been hardened. It's been hardened to a point that you'll be doing it anyways, because you've decided to do it and you've taken it to a point where it is hardened. So if you, like me, have criticism as some of the weakest points or anything else, you can just really copy paste anything here and use this like a formula. Try to get it to a point where you harden it, where you harden the pattern, where you do it every day to a point that it's hardened, like 60, 90 days. Yeah. You do it for more than like 120 days, it's really hard. It's there's no way anything anybody says is going to derail you. It might hurt you, but it won't derail you. And that is how I deal with some of my biggest shortcomings. Okay. Yeah, so yeah, I just wanted to take a moment to share that, and I hope you guys find what it takes to deal with your deepest, darkest shortcomings. There's something you'd like to talk about, feel free to contact me. I'm approachable and available to speak. Okay. Bye for now.